Paula Bennett, the Social Housing Minister, and her visit to Te Puea marae this morning. The story began at about 8:30 on the marae and then unfolded throughout the day. We'll have more on her apology to the marae's chairman. That was made at about 4:10 this afternoon. That's coming up. The Minister had been under increasing pressure about the fact that while she's provided staff from SIFs, WINS and Social Housing to assist the marae's efforts to provide accommodation and support for homeless families, she hadn't visited the marae itself. She arrived with very little warning first thing this morning.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Very nice to meet you.
It had about it the campaign trail sense of boxes being ticked rather than examined. But 3 weeks after the marae opened its doors, the Minister had come to Te Puea.
So this is your kitchen and
Inside the kitchen, volunteers who've been providing cooked meals for the families.
how are you?
People who've provided food, shelter and care.
Very busy.
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah. Hey, lots of mouths to feed.
With very little advance notice, the 8:30 visit to Mangere was accompanied by only a small media contingent, most of whom arrived after the Minister and struggled to keep up with her cracking pace. Te Puea marae has found its compassion and kindness at the centre of a broader discussion. The politics, though, is for others. The people here see their responsibility as the effort. Manakitanga. The tour guide, watched over by the carvings on the wharenui, was Huri Moana Dennis, Te Puea's chairman.
At least you can see now what we look like out the back, and we'll keep plodding along as best we can.
Yeah. All
But
good.
I appreciate the support that you've given, and as I said, the last meeting that we had, everything you've said that could happen has happened, and we'll just keep going.
Huri Moana Dennis is Te Puea's chairman. He was speaking there to Paula Bennett at about 8:30, 8:45 this morning. We'll have more on him in a moment, including an apology to him from the Minister that came this afternoon for the fact that one of his staff members leaked information about an ongoing police investigation into him. But first, Te Puea and its role in helping the homeless. At a media stand-up after her visit to the marae this morning, straight outside afterwards, I asked Paula Bennett about this.
We've got about 5 or 6 families, they were saying at the moment, 5 families and another one coming in today. What is, of course, part of those challenges is then making sure that we have, we just want to make sure that they're connecting to other government services as they need it.
Should Te Puea marae be doing this work? Should they be required to act as a safety net for the failure of government services?
Oh, I wouldn't put it like that. I mean, that's how you are. I mean, at the end of the day, they've chosen to open up their doors, and I think that's fantastic. And you can see that in some respects people feel more comfortable here, Māori with Māori, and so I just, it's what they've chosen to do, and I'm sure as the families are really grateful.
You say the families would be uncomfortable elsewhere, that this isn't a safety net for the failure of government services. So what other choice did these families have?
I didn't actually say that. That's your word. So what I'm just saying is that we're interested in getting the best support that we can for these families and their children.
Through a marae in South Auckland?
Well, through a whole range of services. Actually, we put in an extra 120 beds this year earlier with the $2 million we put in. We've got the obligations of another $41 million. We are really trying to get those more beds up to free up more houses. We've got a building program that's going on that's going to provide more social houses in Auckland. It already has, and they're all in the pipeline and coming through. But this is, I don't want to see any families that are in their cars and not having a safe, warm roof over their head. That's what I'm concentrating on in my department at the moment, to wrap those services around.
So in the meantime, you have families in a marae. You have other families in emergency housing, like motels in Takanini, for example, paying $1,400 a week that they have to borrow from WINS and repay.
Yeah, but as you know, I've
this
changed
a satisfactory
that. Well, as you know, I've
response?
changed that.
Well,
as of the beginning of July, that money will not have to be repaid, because I've been working on this since actually.
In total?
In early last year, I started a whole new program around emergency housing. I started a review. It was the first one that had been done in depth. I went through that. What I heard the most was that they needed certainty of funding so they could get on, provide more beds and have certainties that they could keep their doors open, while also working on that that transitional housing and the longer term of making sure that we've got more social houses that suit the needs. Part of the problem I've got at the moment is I've got the ones that I can't get quickly enough, quite frankly, into more permanent accommodation that are here on the marae, are needing 4 or 5 bedrooms plus because they're such big families. And so that has always been a bit of a problem, that we haven't got those big houses, but we're building a whole lot in Tamaki and other areas.
Can I just clarify, you say from the 1st of July they won't have to repay that money. Are you writing the debt off?
Well, it's what I announced in the budget, so it's a special now, a special needs grant.
For how long? How long does that last for?
That used to have to be paid back, but now won't have to.
And so
in most cases,
what about
that
the
is-
emergency accommodation, the $1,400
I'll just answer
a
that
week?
first one. So in most cases, it's for 7 days, but in exceptional circumstances, it can be for longer. So motels are not new. They've been using them for at least the last sort of 12 years.
So 7 days, what about the people who've run up thousands of dollars and in some cases tens of thousands of dollars of debt for emergency housing?
Look,
What happens to that money?
There's always a whole story behind it, John, and I'm just not prepared to go into individual sort of circumstances. But it's never one easy story as to why they're sort of stuck in a motel and haven't got other options. But we generally will be looking at the individuals as we can. As I say, as of the beginning of July, they won't have to pay the money back for those that are in for 7 days, which, by the way, is most of them. And then there are some exceptions where they're unable to find other.
And the people who've run up debt
accommodation.
so far, they will still have to repay it? The people we've visited in Takanini, for example, paying $1,400 a week for really basic motel rooms, they'll have to repay that money?
Well, I'd like them not to be having to pay $1,400 a week, so I think we can do a better deal for that and get it cheaper for them, and that would be the department. But yes, I would say that they borrowed under those circumstances, and we're not looking at going back.
Has the government tried hard enough, do you think, Minister?
I think that it's really difficult, and as we know, in a tight housing market, it's those that are most vulnerable that are affected the most. But to say that we're late to the party, that we don't care, and that we haven't done anything is just simply incorrect.
So what's the best thing you've done? What is the single most meaningful thing you've done?
Oh, I think an extra 120 beds would be the thing that would come straight off my mind.
Are those beds available now to these people? Are they available?
Well, those that are open are full. So I don't have empty beds sitting around.
How many of the 120 are open?
Well, I think we've got about 37 that have so far. But look, it's one part of the picture, so I should add to it, the $41 million that's going into keeping it. The actual review of
$41 million is going to keeping it what?
That's going into emergency housing providers throughout New Zealand, because what they've said for many of them was they were getting close to having to close their doors. And that's just simply wasn't tenable for this government. So we wanted to provide that funding that would make sure that at least they had their doors open. Then we're working on the more beds with them through that funding. Equally, I think the house building program that's going on, because emergency should be at the bottom and short term. What we want is the longer term permanent solutions for people.
So it's Paula Bennett talking outside Te Puea marae this morning.